Well, welcome in everybody to the PHNX Suns postgame show. I'm Lindsay here with Flex and Espo. Gerald Bourguet will be joining us shortly from the Footprint Center with updates from Frank Vogel and the players. But unfortunately, or fortunately, for the final time in the 2023-2024 season, we get the sad music off the top of the show because the Phoenix Suns have officially been eliminated from the playoffs, losing game 4 to the Timberwolves 122-116. I don't even okay, I will say to start, this was a good game. At least the Suns came out and they played with heart and energy. At least KD and Book did. It just was too little too late.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I said it pregame. Devin and Kevin have been getting thrown under the bus. There wasn't enough talk about Brad Beal. There wasn't enough talk about the other guys. And yeah, I mean, that's what happened tonight. You got 10 points off your bench, and in a do or die game, I mean, I'm not going to turn on my guys, and I'm not going to throw smoke. I'm not going to blow smoke in their face when they down. But damn, man, you got a 113-111 game with 2:30 to go. You got Brad Beal driving baseline with Karl Towns defending, and he has 5 fouls. He has 5 fouls there. Karl Towns doesn't want to foul out of this basketball game. For the life of me, I can't understand why Brad Beal decides to try to throw a pass when he's right under the basket. Look like Ben Simmons. And he turns the ball over at 113-111. Turnover Brad Beal. They come down and score. Very next possession, turnover Brad Beal. Very next possession, foul Brad Beal. I mean, that's your ball game. I mean, these guys fought their asses off, and yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain what I saw in those last 2:30.
Look, I'll give you tonight that Brad Beal was the reason that they had the issues that they had. I'm not going to put
that's what we talk. But that's what we're talking about tonight, right?
Okay, tonight, yeah. For the series, I'm not going to lay it at the feet of Brad. It said all three of them. Look, I'm not going to lie. I'm actually kind of relieved that this is done because now the changes can start. We saw flaws all the way back to Christmas that we've talked about. We were given glimmers of hope. We hoped that was signs of change and signs of things getting better, and it didn't prove to be. And tonight, Devin and Kevin showed heart. Devin Booker threw the elimination game book stuff right out the window. They played well. They played otherworldly, the two of them, but it was too little too late. And I'd love to say, oh, well, the bench hasn't been anything for most of this year. And we kind of knew that halfway through this year when all those minimum guys didn't pan out in any way, shape, or form. And honestly, we didn't want to believe it at the time. We thought they got great value, but maybe the attempt to build that way just isn't sustainable from a second unit because you're getting a lot of guys that you're hoping are value guys, and their value was guys making the minimum in the NBA this year, including Eric Gordon in that. I think this was a long trip for us to get to where we could admit that a lot of people that had critiques about this roster back in June were 100% right. And a lot of us, June and July, and a lot of us didn't want to necessarily see it because we thought the big three would have enough talent. They weren't enough talent. They didn't get it done. They didn't have the right coach. We're on Vogel Watch 2024 right now. I mean, let's be honest. That's a matter of time. This was an end to something that needed to end. And I'm glad that we have gotten to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate to say that out loud, that like you're kind of relieved that the season is over. But at the end of the day, like we've talked about it throughout the entire 23-24 season, that there were moments where we had a good time, but as a whole, it wasn't a lot of fun. Like it didn't really spark joy in the way that we kind of have relied on Suns basketball to in the past. Like it became kind of a chore. And this series specifically was like the cherry on top because it was all a culmination of all the things we had been talking about all season, kind of coming back to bite us in the butt. And, Flex, to your point, like Bradley Beal stunk tonight, especially after talking about after game 3, never getting swept before in his life and not wanting, he said, I'll be damned if that happens to me. And then, unfortunately, I think foul trouble and just not being able to find a rhythm really plagued him tonight. But we needed more from Bradley Beal tonight. Now, that doesn't necessarily let KD and Book off the hook for game 1, 2, and 3 and what we needed from them, and we didn't get. But at the end of the day, everybody kind of failed in this situation because you could look at every single game 1 through 4 and point at this person could have done more, this person could have done more. It just is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, basically, you got to lay it at the feet of the shrinking 3. I mean, they were not a big 3 this season, and in the playoffs in particular. And it's just we've said it all along. There's not one place that you can point, right? There's not one place that you can say this is why. Every single facet of this failed along the way. And tonight it was the bench, it was Beal. In the first game it was Booker and Beal. In the third game it was Booker and KD. Like, there's not one thing that you can do that automatically changes this. You're moving on from Frank. I'm almost willing to guarantee that happens in the next 24 hours. It's not sourced, it's just a feeling, but it would make sense. James Jones is likely either getting reassigned or will be let go at some point, I'd imagine. You're going to have a new team, president of basketball operations / GM, I'm sure. And what can they do? You got the 22nd pick, and you're going to have, free agency, and you can trade one player at a time because you can't aggregate salary. So you're going to have to get creative. This year was, without a doubt, the most disappointing Phoenix Suns season of all time, the most disappointing NBA season of all time from a team, and probably right up there with one of the most disappointing seasons in all of sports. The talk was championship. The talk was, look at the amount of talent that's been amassed on this roster. It's some of the best we've ever seen. 3 top 35 guys in the league, 2 top 10 guys. And you become the first team to be eliminated in the playoffs this season. It is unacceptable. It is pathetic. And it is going to lead to major change in the Valley.
Yeah, I mean, it has to. Like, you can't run it back with this same group and expect a different result. Like, I know that we were plagued with injuries all season, and that was a huge factor in this team not really being able to iron out some of the issues that it had. But it wasn't the only reason that they weren't able to iron those things out. There is something fundamentally broken with this group of guys, top to bottom, players and coaches, that just isn't clicking. And if you run it back, I feel like we're going to end up in the exact same spot that we are today. And I also don't think it would be fun for anybody to try that experiment. So I'm out on that. You definitely have to make some changes. What those changes will be remains to be seen. But Espo, like you said, likely Frank Vogel, maybe James Jones reassigned somewhere else. And then you do whatever you're able to do from a team perspective. But we've got all off season to dive into that one. I do want to talk a little bit more about this game and this series in particular, because I think one of the biggest disappointments of this series is how embarrassing it all kind of imploded on us, right? Like, first and foremost, credit to the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards, because they are legit and he is a dog. Okay. Ant Edwards has arrived in full fashion. Like, the talk has been there for a while, but this solidified that he is him, right? Like, he has that dog in him. He's going to be one of the next big players in this league. And that's amazing for them. So hats off to them. Kudos to them first and foremost. But from a Suns perspective, this is like a stain on your reputation, in my opinion. And I don't know if I'm being dramatic, but that's how it feels right now.
No, I honestly, I think this is just as embarrassing, if not more so, than the last 2 years. I mean, I know it didn't end in his horrible fashion, but the series, the 3 games before this were just as bad as those that knocked him out the last few years. This whole season was a slog. It just Anthony Edwards, say what you want about whatever his gesture was the other night. He came in and he kicked the Suns in the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and he did things that athletically and defensively that were unbelievable. And that dunk that he put on, I knew that the second that dunk happened late in the fourth, it was over. That was the knockout blow. I mean, he basically posterized KD in such a vicious way that you go, shit, I hope that's not one of the last, I know KD's got a few more years, but like, was that KD one of KD's last best shots to get another title? And did Anthony Edwards end it with that dunk? Like, it was unbelievable. Anthony Edwards talked his shit and backed it up. You don't always see that in sports. There's a lot of guys that run their mouths and then they don't actually back it up. Anthony Edwards backed it up all the way, and I give him full credit for it. I give Chris Finch, and I hope he's okay. That was brutal. But I give him full credit for the defensive philosophy. Rudy Gobert showed up and said, you know what? I don't care what's been said about me in the past in terms of how I play in the playoffs. I'm showing up and I'm doing everything, and I give them credit for keeping them on the floor even when the Suns went small. The Wolves played an unbelievable series. They made every adjustment that needed to be made. They took a look at the 3 games that they had lost in the regular season, and they figured out every last thing they could do to counter program and counter move the Phoenix Suns. Hats off to the Timberwolves. This wasn't a case of the Phoenix Suns. Well, the Phoenix Suns did disappoint, but the Minnesota Timberwolves were unbelievable in what they were capable of doing. You got to give them full credit on it.
Yeah, I mean, both things at the same time happened. The Suns absolutely fell apart, and the Timberwolves absolutely came together and took off compared to what the Suns and the Timberwolves matchups were in the regular season. Now, I know they've had games like this against other opponents, but versus the Suns, they completely like 180. I know there was that one game where they were pretty decent, but the 2 games that were really rough for them. They just 180'd entirely. They didn't care what happened in the regular season, where it feels like the Suns maybe hung their hats on what happened in the regular season a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry I dropped off. My internet just did some crazy stuff. Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to tip your hat to the Timberwolves. They were terrific. That Timberwolves team was terrific. They came out, they wanted it more. Their big time player, Anthony Edwards, took the bull by the horn and looked like a superstar. Karl Towns was terrific. This team they were a better team than the Phoenix Suns, period. And I know y'all touched on some things probably while I was out, but there's gonna be a lot of changes in the Valley this summer. There has to be. This team doesn't have a starting point guard. They don't have a backup point guard. They don't have someone to set the table. Coaching is definitely going to be questioned for sure. Is the big 3 actually going to work? You look around the league, and here's what I am starting to notice, and this is something that you have to go through to see. But you're starting to see across the league that super teams or building a super team with 3 stars may not be the recipe to success. You got a team like OKC that's riding one superstar in SGA, and then a bunch of really good players. You're seeing, Dallas with Luka and Kyrie. I'm starting to wonder if, you need more than one. I'm starting to wonder if the sweet spot is 2, though. I think 3 may be overkill. You look at the Clippers; they're having the same problems with James Harden, PG3, and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi didn't play today, and the Clippers played terrific today. And so it's starting to feel like the days of 3 superstars is probably not the way to go in this basketball league now. And so How do you fix that? You know, you got Brad Beal with a no trade clause. You got a 35-year-old Kevin Durant. You got a 27-year-old Devin Booker. You have a bunch of holes in the roster you got to fill. And so you have to strategically go into the summer and really evaluate if you're willing to run this back. And I'm gonna be very honest with you. I don't think I know for sure. I haven't spoken with anyone during this process that agrees that running this back is the right move. And so you got to make the moves.
There is no way you can run this back. I think having 3 stars can work if one of them is or one or two of them is a true leader and it's a cohesive unit. But this group wasn't. At any point, they weren't. You cannot bring the shrinking 3 back. And you cannot. And Devin Booker isn't going anywhere. I'm sorry to break certain people's hearts on the internet. Devin Booker ain't going anywhere. You're going to have to get creative if you can find a place that Bradley Beal wants to go that you can get somebody. That leaves one other guy that might be up to be dealt. You're changing coaches. You're making front office changes. And at that point, you're also going to have to make a change with one of those shrinking 3. It's going to have to happen. And it's a necessity. You are not going to win by running this back. This was not a case of if they had played 60 games, 70 games, this would have been different. We saw what they were throughout a majority of the season. And then we saw what they were in this 4-game sweep. And it's not enough is what they were. And until you figure out how to construct a full roster, you aren't going to win. And the only way to construct a full roster is by moving one of those guys and getting depth. Mm-hmm. That's the way you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, because your hands are kind of tied as far as constructing a roster or adding to a bench or getting deeper, like a lot of people in the comments are talking about, because you're a second apron team. So you're talking about vet mins, you know, there's a limit to what you can do for that, but we have all off season. We'll dive into the numbers on that and see what the Suns are capable of doing. But right now we're going to welcome in Saul Bookman to the show, wants to join to share his thoughts. Saul, thank you so much for popping in. How are you feeling after this Game 4 loss?
I feel like my wife does, sick as shit. I mean, it's just what it is. This is just, you know, I'm almost relieved too. Like, I'm just glad it's all over with. It was a horrible season, one of the worst seasons I can ever recall, considering the expectations. Not the record, not the stats. It's just everything that we had to deal with this year, the inconsistencies, the ebbs, the flows. And you never really had too many, like, pleasuring moments this season. Like, you know, I can think of like the KD buzzer beater, the win in Game 1 on the road at Golden State. Those are like some of the few, but outside of that, it was just kind of like, it was a chore. It was a chore. And this team's got a lot of things that they're gonna have to figure out. And listen, man, I'll just say this, you know, I know the limitations that we had when we traded CP3 for Bradley Beal. But, you know, looking at the quote today that I saw, that Washington would never say it out loud, but they definitely were relieved that they were able to find a team that was going to take Bradley Beal, because that contract is damn near immovable. And now the Suns are on the hook, and they're hoping that they can find another dummy to take that contract. And that's just going to be so hard, because he's got 3 years left. Now, if he had 1 year left, then you might be able to see a path to where a team will take that on for a year, and then be done with that salary and free up some cap space. But we're talking about 3 years, almost $160 million, and that's just going to be damn near impossible to get rid of. And honestly, like, let's be real. If we were going to trade any one of those 3, it would definitely be Bradley Beal, because he did not live anywhere close to the expectation that was placed upon him coming here. And I know he was supposed to be that third wheel, but that third wheel can't be that distant off. It can't be that far off. It can't be, you know, 13, 14 points a game off. Like, Bradley Beal should be much better than that. And he had a shit season. He just did. He could never find a rhythm. He could never find a flow. He could never get into a good groove. He had a couple good games, and it looked like he was going to start to take a little bit of the reins in those last couple games of the season. And then he went right back to bad Bradley Beal when the playoffs started. And we had one good game where we had more than one of the big 3 show up, and that was tonight. And unfortunately for them, so did Anthony Edwards. And it was just it's tough. And listen, 2 guys show up out of your 5, you're just going to lose just about every single game, and that's not good enough. And this franchise has got a lot of questions to answer. I do think I will say this. I just wanted to pop on and say this before I have to go back, but I do think that there's a path to get it all right. I know we're going to talk about it. I assume it's going to start sometime tomorrow or maybe in the next 2 or 3 days, assuming the owner doesn't have his head up his ass, because we all know what the first thing that should be fixed is. So it's just a disappointing season. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. Love you guys. Thank you.
Bye, Saul.
Later, dog.
Saul's not wrong, but you're not going to find somebody that's going to bail you out when it comes to Bradley Beal. I'm just sorry. You're not going to find somebody to do that and bail you out of that contract. It's just not going to be the case. You're going to have to find other ways, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. I feel like it's not impossible, but I do think it'll be all I'm going to say is if it does happen, you cannot complain about whatever we get back in return.
Agreed.
If you want Bradley Beal traded and you are calling for that and it happens, whatever comes back in that trade, say thank you and move on. You can't bitch and complain. You just can't.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know we're going to talk about this ad nauseum over the next few weeks. And I do feel like there's a path to get this right. I do agree with Saul. I don't think it's as doom and gloom as people are feeling. I do believe that there's a path. There's going to be some tough conversations. And I want to make this clear as we start to have those conversations. This isn't any personal vendettas. This isn't any personal agendas. This isn't we like this person more than that person. This is business. This is the business of the NBA now. And so now there's going to be some tough business decisions that need to be made. And names are going to come up. And the Phoenix Suns are going to have options. I mean, I'm just going to paint this for y'all. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Brad Beal are out in the first round. Joel Embiid is going to probably be out in the first round. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden, or Kyrie or Luka are going to be out again in the first round. Okay. Milwaukee, Giannis and Dame Lillard are going to be out in the first round. Okay. So why are you looking like that?
Because it's different. They all had injuries. Everybody, Embiid's injured.
You're not
dealing with Bell's palsy.
You've
got Kawhi out.
You're not understanding what I'm saying, though. I'm not doing this to defend the Suns. This has got nothing to do with the series.
Okay.
I'm talking about perspective and business decisions that all those teams are going to have to make. That's what I mean. I'm not using this time frame to say the Suns are out, but look who else is out. We're good. No. That's not what this is. What I'm trying to say is the Philadelphia 76ers are going to be out again in the first round with Joel Embiid. They'll have a decision to make. Joel Embiid will have a decision to make. That fan base is very frustrated. Milwaukee's in the same spot. The Clippers or the Mavericks will be in the same spot. The Lakers will be in the same spot. And so when I say there's a path, you may be dealing with some of these teams to resolve the issues. You may be calling up other teams and saying, here's this problem for that problem. So it's going to be an interesting offseason because I will say this, there will be big time names this summer that are going to become available or are going to go public and say we want out. And the benefit the Phoenix Suns have is that when that happens, the first team they're calling is the Phoenix Suns because of the way our roster is constructed and because of the name power that's on this roster. And so there's going to be a whole bunch of shit going on. We'll get to that eventually, but I do see a path to get this fixed with a couple moves that happened this summer, starting with the coaching staff. And then you just gotta play the game. And like Lindsay said, what you get is what you get. You're not going to get what you pay for these guys. I can promise you that.
No matter what move is made, you're not going to get a quote unquote fair value. or quote unquote win the deal,
No,
right? Like
no,
you're just going to have to
no.
accept that a little bit. Like it might be a pretty good solid package, but you're not going to be like, oh my God, we finessed so and so. Like
But
that's just not going to happen.
maybe
at this
that's
point, I
just
don't
what
think.
this group needs. Is just hey, they got some good players, because right now they got two great players, a guy that doesn't quite know who he is, and Bradley Beal, and nothing else. And I
Yeah.
mean that respectfully. I mean, Grayson Allen not included since he didn't play the last two games. But you look at that, maybe just some nice players are what this team needs. I mean, they need a lot. They need a lot. And interestingly enough, Shams Charania just tweeted an article called "Inside the Waning Voice of Frank Vogel: Offensive Issues Around the Phoenix Suns and What Comes Next for the NBA's Most Expensive Roster After a First Round Sweep." So I'm sure that'll be a fun read right after this. So.
Yeah. And we'll dive into that maybe tomorrow, depending on what's in it. But first, guys, we got to go back to this game just shortly. And everyone wondering about super chats, we will get to those here in just a minute. Just hang tight. But first, let's look at the numbers from tonight's game presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes.
Yeah, so you got a 122-116 Minnesota victory. 3-point shooting, the Suns 10 for 26 for 38%. The Timberwolves 15 for 36, 41%. Once again, nowhere near the amount of threes the Suns need to take. Field goal percentage is 51% to 46%. That was a little better today. Timberwolves still take 15 more shots. On the rebounding, on the glass, 44 to 33, Minnesota Timberwolves. And again, assists 23 to 20, Minnesota Timberwolves. So once again, man, tip your hat. The Minnesota Timberwolves absolutely came to play and annihilated the Phoenix Suns, top to bottom in 4 games. And yeah, I mean, they deserve to win. I'll take all the smoke. I did not see this coming. I listen, I thought the Phoenix Suns had a chance to win this series. I thought they should have won the series before it started. Minnesota came out and threw a couple punches, and you thought that you were able to respond, but you just weren't. They came out like a wrecking ball, and that's a good basketball team. And I tip my hat. I didn't think this team was that good. I really didn't. I'll eat crow. That team's pretty good.
What boggles my mind is Frank even said pregame he told the team they needed to shoot 40+ threes. I didn't get anywhere near that. And I get it. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant were aggressive at the rim and were hitting, we're hitting middies. But still, when you know that's been a point of success and you don't do it in a game that you have to win, again, just disappointing across the board in so many ways, and giving up more shots to your opponent than you take was a common theme all year. I mean, that box score is a microcosm of the things we saw that caused them to lose throughout the season. So it doesn't come as a great surprise when you see that tonight, and it led to another L. So
Yeah, and I know you guys aren't going to like this, but we're going to go ahead and give out our final big, bright, shiny star of the season. And tonight it goes to Kevin and Devin. They combined for 82 points in this one, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists between the two of them. Great performance from the two of them, but again, too little, too late. But Espo, to your point earlier in the show, at least we can maybe, if we're looking for one single silver lining, and I'm stretching here, okay? I'm very well aware of that, everybody
Me
in the
too.
chat. Devin has a new playoff career high in an elimination game. So,
Yeah. I never paid attention to that at all anyway. It's such a small sample size. To me, it was always very ridiculous to keep pounding the table on that. So I'm not going to flip the script now and celebrate that Devin had almost 50 points when I didn't care in the first place. When you lose a game 7 to the Mavericks and you lose by 182 and the game's not competitive, you're not going to score points. So the average is ridiculous to even talk about. And so, yeah, it is what it is. And again, too little, too late. I mean, these guys played their asses off today, but there's going to be that crowd that's going to wonder, where was this in game 1, 2, and 3? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the one thing I will say is this. I thought they can win this basketball game. They fell a little short. I will say this going into the game. The one thing I wanted to see was for them to go out on the sword and go out with the two best guys that you got on the floor. And they did that. Those two guys went out there and said, hey, hell or high water, we're gonna throw our best punch. And I'll give them credit for that. I'm not gonna throw shade at that. They put their team in an opportunity to potentially extend this funeral to Tuesday. And no one else showed up. It felt like literally I was watching Kevin Durant and Devin Booker versus a Minnesota Timberwolves 12-man roster. And that's what it looked like.
In the third quarter, they scored all 30, or they scored 29 of the Suns' 31 points. Nurk had 2 points in that third quarter. But outside of that, it was all Kevin and Devin.
Yeah.
Look, Bradley Beal shit the bed.
He did.
I mean, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant did everything humanly possible to try to extend this series. Those combined stats are insanity. That's what you hope sometimes to get from three guys that are that good, not just two of them. They did exactly what they did last year in the playoffs, and they got exactly what they got last year in the playoffs. No help. And that's problematic. That's just awful. Said it in pregame. I needed to see Devin Booker say, screw it, I'm going to be that guy that I know I can be. Needed to see Kevin Durant do it. And they both did it. They came up big, and they did it. And the rotations were weird tonight. Why the hell did Nasir Little become Abdel Nader? I don't understand any of this. But they got zero help, and it was too little too late. Unfortunately, that's the truth. It was too little too late.
Yeah. I don't know why Nasir Little played. It was just very odd. We heard all year, these are my guys. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm sticking with. And then when it gets do or die back to the wall, you didn't see any of that. You just shrunk the lineup and played a guy that hasn't played in 4.5 months. I just, when I saw that, I immediately was like, okay, man, this thing's off the rails. I like that he played Okogie. I thought Okogie was really good. Again, he wasn't offensively doing much, but defensively, the energy was good. And I think when I look back at the series, that's going to be the thing that's going to haunt me when I look at this series in particular, as to why it took so long to get Josh Okogie some minutes. I think if you play Josh Okogie from the jump, understanding the dynamics of the Timberwolves, maybe you got it. Maybe you're not down 3-0 coming into today. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But whatever. That's hindsight being 2020. Timberwolves deserve to win. Hats off to them. I just hope Ant and all those guys are okay. I know he had a couple injuries, and I want to see this team continue to succeed. Man, they earned it.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. The Suns season might be over, but the NBA playoffs will continue, and the action is so much more fun when you are a part of the BetMGM Sportsbook app. So if you have not signed up for the BetMGM Sportsbook app yet, make sure you sign up, and make sure you sign up using that promo code PHNX. When you use the promo code PHNX, all you got to do is place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10. And you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if the bet loses. Also, baseball is here, and baseball is fun, and even more fun on the BetMGM Sportsbook app as well. They're having a MLB Grand Slam jackpot, which is a weekly bet and get promotion that happens Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, where you could win $50,000. So check it out. You can find all the information in the show notes. And of course, now you can listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Get stuffed, Ontario, and this season. Thank God it's over. You know what we all need right now? A little bit of a staycation. I think we should each take rotating weeks off, take a staycation, and I got the place that we all can go, right? We all need to decompress after this Sun season, and Gila River Resorts and Casinos is the place we should go. It is unbelievable. They offer an authentic and immersive experience, and no one does it better than them. It's not just that they have the best gaming floor in Arizona, and they do. They have 800 slot machines, 15 blackjack tables, live gaming tables, the largest sports book in Arizona. It's not just the dining, which is unbelievable. They got an unbelievable steakhouse, fantastic Asian food. They've got, if you want just something easy to eat, they got pizza, they got burgers, they got everything. But it's not just that. They have a resort style pool down at Wild Horse Pass. They've got hotel rooms. It's unbelievable. And I think I'm going to go just spend like a week there by myself in solitude, in silence, and try to get over whatever this season was. And you can too. You can head to Gila River Resorts and Casinos and let them show you what next level is all about. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
You're just going to sit in a room for a week and not talk to anybody. You just sit there the whole time.
Does that not sound heavenly?
Honestly,
I mean,
kind of.
We get paid to talk. What was this? 86 games that we talked about this team? I could use a little time.
I get it. I'm a homebody. I get it. All right, let's take a peek at some of these super chats. First and foremost, we have one from Omar. Thank you, Omar. They said, James Jones and Vogel need to be gone tomorrow. If you can't do much to the roster, it has to start with the front office or the coaching staff.
Yep,
I get it.
It's got to start there, and I think it's got to start tomorrow. I mean, I don't wait, because the more I see coming out about this article that Shams wrote, it sounds like it was massively dysfunctional, is a way to put it.
Yeah, I agree with the coaching staff. I'm gonna hold out a little bit on the front office. I mean, there's some things to talk about there. There's some development that's gonna happen there, but absolutely, I don't want to throw Frank Vogel under the bus, but I kind of am. I mean, nothing that we heard about when he signed on here came to fruition. He just looked like a guy that had no control over this team all season. And so absolutely step number one is figure out what's going on with the coaching staff, and then we move on to phase 2 of this offseason.
Yeah, I understand you don't want to throw Frank Vogel under the bus, and I don't think we necessarily should. However, he did have his shortcomings this season, and clearly there was a disconnect. We've talked about it over this whole series, even into the regular season, but this series really brought it to the forefront here. But there was a disconnect. There was one thing being said by Frank, another thing by Kevin, another thing by Devin, and none of it lined up with each other. There's definitely some who is, who isn't, leader, this, that, and the other going on. And so something is off. And if you can make that change to find somebody who can galvanize and bring together this group, if you do decide to run it back, that's the very least that you can do.
All right. Yeah. I'm just going to say it. Frank threw himself under the bus. Us pointing out that he did a poor job isn't us throwing him under the bus. Us saying that he needs to answer for what happened this season, and that likely answer is by losing his job, isn't us throwing him under the bus. If he had performed better as a coach, if we weren't seeing these things that are coming out now about what the dysfunction may or may not have been, then maybe, but honestly, he threw himself under the bus with his performance as the head coach of the Phoenix Suns this
year. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Saavedra sent us one. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. They said, my first time listening to the pre and post game shows. Sad it's at the end, but I greatly enjoy listening to you guys. We're sorry that it took this long for us to pop up on your feed, but we're so glad that you're here. Just as a heads up, we're going to be here Monday through Friday, 5 days a week for you guys during the off season. We'll also cover the draft and summer league and all the things. So We're still going to be around. Our shows are at 3 p.m. throughout the week. So plan to come hang out with us. And also you can follow the show on social at PHNX_Suns. Psycho Blue sent us one and they said, once again, your Phoenix Suns are on the wrong end of greatness. I'm sure there will be plenty of finger pointing over the next month. At least we went down with dignity this time. See you next season.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could hang your hat on the fact that it was actually a fight in this game and that they didn't just get blown out entirely. I appreciate that. Dawn said one. Dawn said, I've never been swept a day in my life, so I'll be damned if that happens. I hereby send you to eternal damnation. The Phoenix Suns. Oh, wait. ...
I believe we got the quote wrong. I think he meant I've never swept a day in my life because he's always had maids. I believe that's what he meant. So
that must be it. That was our bad.
Yeah.
Our bad. James sent us one and they said Beal effed us. 6 turnovers. OMG.
I mean, we
in
only
this
had
game, yes.
Yeah, we only had 11, and he had 6. And again, Devin and Kevin have been absolutely fucking thrown under the bus this entire series. There hasn't been anyone that gave any of them dudes the benefit of the doubt. And we don't run around saying the big 2.5 or the big 2+1. It's always been the big 3. And so what I am not going to allow is for Devin and Kevin to get thrown under the bus the whole series and then just act like Beal's. No. He got to get the same smoke as all of them. He's making $51 million. He's got to get the same smoke. If this was Kevin Durant who had 9 points and 6 turnovers, there'd be a shit show going on right now. If this was Devin Booker, we'd be writing articles about elimination games. Brad got to get the same smoke right now.
Well,
and he did nothing in this series to say otherwise.
I mean, they all deserve it, man. They all deserve the heat. And I understand why some people have given Brad less, because when you think of the pecking order, it was always in whatever order you want to put it. Book, KD, 1A, 1B. Brad was C. I mean, and everybody looked at it that way. And I think that's why people were laying a lot of it at the feet of Kevin and Devin to begin with. But all 3 of them deserve all of it. And Beal tonight deserves every ounce of it. Every last ounce of it. He deserves all of the smoke. He deserves all the crap. Everything. Tonight, you can lay all at his feet. The series, I think they have to share it even.
Yeah, I agree. You can point to all 3 of them, but I do think, Espo, the reason why Brad sometimes doesn't get as much flack is because of that pecking order that you mentioned. I mean, even when you hear national media over the last week talk about this team, they say Hall of Famer Kevin Durant, future Hall of Famer, pretty much a lock, Devin Booker, and then Bradley Beal maybe. So there is a difference. And I'm not saying that gives him a break on it by any means, but there's a difference. So I think that's why there's a different standard for those 2 guys at times. Right or wrong, I'm just saying, I think that's the reasoning. Trevor did send us a super chat, and Trevor said, out of the 3, Beal needs to go. Book, KD, and Allen, thumbs up. So a lot of people feel this way. Based, what's up, Based? You better come back after tonight. I'm just saying that. They said the Suns didn't go out like chumps, so no trolling from me today. It was a pleasure watching y'all's streams while the series lasted.
Thank you, Based. We appreciate super chats and your smoke.
Respect, real talk. Congratulations. I'm a Minnesota Viking fan. I root for Minnesota fans, so I hope y'all make a deep run and bring some joy to those fans in Minnesota. So much respect, my man.
Yeah. Sloth of Speed, great name, said, thank you for an amazing Suns show all season. Flex and Espo, that Why Are We Suns Fans video was a great encouragement after such a tough season. If you guys haven't seen that, that is on our YouTube channel. Flex and Espo talked about why they're Suns fans, and it was a good one. So make sure you check it out. But Sloth, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. And again, we'll be here all off season.
Appreciate
Flex,
you,
can we
Sloth.
can we just
Huh?
personally talk about that again tomorrow so I can have a little upbeat feeling? Can we just
Yeah,
reminisce about
Just the two of you on
why
a sidebar.
you can
we
come in my
good.
office and we just
Yeah,
talk about it.
we good. The sun's gonna come out tomorrow, man. We gonna be all right. We'll get this back on the rails.
Mike Kafka sent us one and they said Frank Vogel had 0 turnovers for the series. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Yeah, he sure did. My dog did. My dog did too. My dog had 0 turnovers this series.
Go to Tech Reviews said, please, breaking news of Frank Vogel being fired tonight. We'll see. We'll
No,
see.
can we do it in the morning so we can get some sleep before our emergency pod?
Facts, though. Joshua sent us another one and they said, Minnesota was the better team, but I'm pretty petty. Laughing face emoji. Good job winning your first playoff series in 20 years, Wolves fans. Still going to enjoy my vacation. Lots to deal with now. Well, Josh, at least this is one thing you can take off of your plate. Dealing with the Suns in this series, you can just sit back and enjoy your vacation now. J-Dub sent us one, and they said, tough season, but y'all brought it every night. Thanks, PHNX crew. Go Suns.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being
you.
here.
Yeah, thank you. Some guy named Justin sent us one, and they said, putting this in NBA 2K terms for these guys to understand, we have about 17% chemistry. Praying Beal wants to be a number one elsewhere this offseason. It's a great way to put it, though.
That's a great way. That's a great way. 17% is a little high, though.
That's what I was gonna say. It seems a little optimistic there on that chemistry chart.
Oh, no. Travis sent us one and they said Beal should not have been guarding Ant. No Bobo minutes or even any lineup that could get a rebound was insane. No Allen was a big factor for our offense. Are you guys kind of surprised we didn't see any Bobo tonight?
Yeah, very. I am. I mean, I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not surprised because there's been so much fluky lineups and stuff, so it's not surprising that he didn't do it. But yeah, I mean, I would have played Bobo tonight for sure.
But the second I saw Nasir Little take off the warm-ups, I went, all bets are off. Nothing's going to surprise me.
Right.
Consistently inconsistent, even with what he managed to do rotation-wise for Frank.
Yeah.
Gordon sent us one and they said Bradley Beal is a disaster. Would take 300-year-old Chris Paul all day, every day. Get him out of the valley.
You know what? If you'd have said this, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, yeah, I would have argued with you, but I'm gonna be honest. And again, I'm okay admitting when I'm wrong. I'm not gonna duck anything. I apologize to Chris Paul. I mean, box scores don't mean everything in basketball. And what Chris Paul brought to this locker room, what he brought to the team as a leader, continuity, just the basketball IQ, we definitely missed it. And you could see it. So here's what I'm saying: 12:01 midnight, man. There's a guy named Chris Paul that's going to be available. If I was running this team, I'm calling him right away. And so just remember I said that.
Base God Flashy sent us one and they said Wizards knew something we didn't. I think we do better this season going for a young point guard and depth for CP3, even without DA trade included. 2 stars plus depth.
Again, though, you weren't getting that. If you had
Yeah.
bought Chris Paul out and eaten the $15 million, you had no cap space. You would have been chasing the same kind of guys that you were chasing after you made the Beal deal. I understand the thinking in it. The way it worked out isn't what you wanted, but there's no world where you were accomplishing what everybody thinks they would have accomplished. It did not work under the rules. They made the move because it was the only move to be made. I mean, I guess you could have tried to go after Jordan Poole instead of Bradley Beal, but I think you wind up in the same place if you do that.
Same thing. Even
so
worse.
like that's the thing. People have to realize that factor in it still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 100%.
Doug sent us one and they said, stay strong, Suns now and forever. I know this one hurts really bad right now, but hopefully next season we'll have something to be excited about and things will turn around. and we'll get back to enjoying Suns basketball again.
Yeah.
Kev said, Cheeks disease has finally ended the Phoenix Buns. Well,
Hey, man, go ahead.
I was just to say the Cheeks Clinic was full most of the season. So
Cheeks Clinic will still go down as one of my favorite things from this entire season. I appreciate all of you who just completely grasped onto that and took off running with it because it's brought me a lot of joy. Grant sent us one and they said, tough ending. Thanks, PHNX, for an entertaining pod. Thank you for being here, Grant. We appreciate you. T Bounty said, Espo and Lindsay, you two are my favorites. So sorry for the letdown, but thanks for the positive vibes. Love you guys. Thanks, T Bounty. Appreciate you. Andrew said, 2012 Lakers all over again, ... but more embarrassing.
I mean,
like I said on Friday, when you have Lakers fans who are kind of like, hey, man, I feel for you. I get it. It's not a great place to be. Jackson sent us one and they said, the reality has set in of how bleak our future is. We are literally in a worse place than the Pistons or Hornets. So to this one, I would say no. Maybe, okay, next year could be questionable, right? But then come 2026, I think things will start to turn around. So we don't have to go at a full 19-win season to kind of figure this one out. So before you guys go full blown doom and gloom and want to jump overboard.
Did I miss where Charlotte and Detroit got stars? Did I miss that? I get that the pick thing is complicated and you don't have them every other year now and there's pick swaps, but let me remind you, when this team tried to build through the draft, those were the years of a Dragan Bender, Marquise Chris, Alex Len, Josh Jackson. The draft isn't always what it's cracked up to be either. This team still has some stars. There's still some ability to do some things. It's not the Hornets and Pistons level. Let's not jump off the bridge that far. All right.
Yeah, no. Listen, I know tonight's tough. Tonight's the end of the season, and I'm trying to keep it there because there's going to be a lot to talk about. But I'm going to be very honest. I see a path for this team to get things done this offseason. I think it's going to be more interesting than people think. I think Matt Ishbia is a hell of an owner. He's a billionaire who's willing to spend and do whatever it takes. You got three guys that in Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal that fundamentally and foundationally, these are still guys that are good basketball players and have value. Now you can make your opinion on Brad Beal based on tonight, and I was hard on Brad Beal tonight, but it's not as bad as people are thinking. Everybody needs to chill out. There's gonna be a path to get this. I wouldn't say completely fixed, but there's gonna be a path where I think they can make some moves and next year can be a lot better than this year. And so I still think the future is bright. Until Lindsay's point, 2026 has always been something that's systematically and schematically they've always looked at and said, okay, that's the total reset button. That's okay. We tried this, it didn't work, but we have a way out. And that's only a couple seasons down the road. So no, I don't lose too much sleep over this, man. The Suns are going to do some things this summer that I think are going to get this back on the rails and kind of fix some of the stuff we went through this year.
All right, guys, we do have a clip from Kevin Durant being worked on right now. So in the meantime, let me tell you about Circle K's brand new free membership program called Inner Circle. You want to sign up for this because first and foremost, you save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. And we all know that gas is super expensive. And of course, you save 3 cents per gallon every single day after that. And once you reach a certain level, you can bump that up to 5 cents off a gallon every single day. You also get every 6 free on a selection of Circle K products like pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and so much more. And as I say every time, there's always specials and coupons within the app as well. But we love our friends over at Circle K, at least me specifically. Nothing is better in the summertime here in Phoenix than a nice Polar Pop. And I've told you this before and I'll tell you it again, just in case you want to treat yourself to a little snack since the Suns completely killed our Sunday evening. The dark chocolate covered almonds at Circle K are top notch. I'm telling you, put them in the freezer. Perfect. So join Inner Circle today for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details.
If I'm going to take a week-long staycation, I'm going to need some cash to be able to do that and to
Yes.
enjoy it. And my friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union are here to help me out, because when I open and when you open an online checking account, you can get $200 instantly. Just that easy. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest and most trusted local credit union dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. That's right. The Desert Financial team are financial experts. You don't want people that aren't financial experts dealing with your money. That'd be like me, and it's a bad idea. You don't want me doing your money. Right? That's just not the way you want it. You want financial experts, and they are committed to their members and their community, offering financial solutions tailored to helping real people like yourselves achieve their financial goals and dreams. Look to Desert Financial for checking, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. I don't know what the more is, but I guess there's more you can do in banking than just those, and Desert Financial can take care of it. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with its members. When you open a free checking account, like I told you online, get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200.
AJ in the chat said, loving my new online checking account from Desert Financial and the sweet cash bonus. Shout out to you, AJ. Got hooked up. I love to see it. All right. First, let's hear from Kevin Durant on his current level of motivation after getting swept.
For me, individually, I live and breathe this shit, bro. Like, I have nothing else but, at this point in my life, I got a lot of shit going on outside of basketball, but what I'm mainly focused on is ball, bro. So, yeah, I got motivation. I love to play. I'm going to come back next year, ready to hoop, So, yeah, I don't think you should question that.
So a little bit of context for this one, right? Gerald said that KD and he chatted briefly after his presser, and he understood that Gerald wasn't trying to ask the question to challenge his motivation, nor was KD trying to dunk on Gerald with that answer. Okay. He just Gerald thinks that KD just really wanted to make sure that he conveyed how motivated he still is. So that was kind of a little bit of the backstory and the context with that answer. He wants to make sure everybody knows, he's still motivated in the game of basketball. He still wants to win. And that's his message right now at the end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Kevin Durant's a basketball player, and he, I think he was top 5 in scoring this year, right? Or right around there, right? Did he end the year top 5 or number 6? I want to say top 5. There's still a lot of Kevin Durant. There's still a lot of terrific basketball in Kevin Durant. You saw it tonight. Defensively, this is probably one of his best defensive seasons in 10 years, I think, rating wise. And so, I mean, he's a hooper, right? That's what he said. And so I'm sure Kevin Durant is going to do everything he can to continue to get better and figure things out. But there's just too much stuff behind the scenes, like with the coaching and stuff like that has to get settled out. We can't get through this off season without having these tough conversations and figuring this stuff out. Because if you're going to go with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, you need to get all the bullshit out the way. And when I say bullshit, I mean, the coaching staff, how to better utilize Kevin and Devin, how to better utilize the people around them, how to put them in a better position to succeed. So I got no problem with what Kev said in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody expected Kevin Durant to be questioning whether he's going to continue to play basketball,
right,
or not. What is, if he still loves the game. It was a bad season. It was, I mean, individually, him, Booker, they had good stats, but it was a bad season as a team as a whole. I'm sure he's frustrated, rightfully so. I mean, we heard that at Christmas. I'm sure it doesn't dissipate at this point. They're all frustrated. The question is, can they make it work together as a group? Can they all be motivated together? And who's the head coach to make that happen?
Right. Right.
All right, guys, here is what Frank Vogel had to say on the Suns season ending in disappointment and him speaking directly to Suns fans.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, there's no other way to put it. There's no worse professional feeling in the world than getting swept in the NBA playoffs. I've never been a part of it. I feel pretty low right now. I want to speak to our fans directly and say, you know, I share your passion. I'm as disappointed as y'all are. Okay, I share that with you all. But you know, we got beat by a better team this year, and you know, we put this team together with the mindset that we have a 3 to 5 year window. You know, that every year we're going to have a chance to. We have a team that has the firepower to compete for it. But you know, this league is loaded with firepower. We got a talented group. So do the Timberwolves. So do every team in the top 10 teams in the Western Conference. Okay, are loaded with talent as well. So, you know, we got to evaluate and figure out ways we can get better, and you know, just process this tough series loss.
I would have really liked him to come out and just say, "Look, we screwed up. This was an embarrassment to you, the fans. It was an embarrassment to us. There's no excuses. And, you know, if I'm lucky enough to be back here next year, I promise that I'll do better and I'll make sure our team does better." Like, that's what anybody would want to hear. I don't want to hear 3 to 5 year window. You got beat by the better team. You know, like, it's all excuses. It's platitudes. Actually say something real to this fan base who has been here through the bad times, has been here in the good times, have been here in the weird times like this year, and have proudly done so. And I just don't feel like that's a true way to speak to them after what just transpired.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Frank Vogel was the coach of the Phoenix Suns next year, guys. I mean, I'm trying to stay away from that right now and be respectful to the situation. But yeah, 3 to 5 year window, man. I don't know about all that, bro.
Yeah, I mean, he has another 3 years on that contract. He better get the U-Haul ready to go back to Jersey and enjoy his time there, because I think that's where he's going to be spending it probably. You know, he doesn't get Cancun. He doesn't get Galveston like Charles was trying to send, you know, New Orleans to. He gets Jersey and Jersey Shore and enjoy it. I heard the Jersey Shore's nice, but it ain't Cancun. All right, Flex. I'm not hating on your hometown or your home state. I'm just telling him he gets to go there. He does not get the flight to Cancun, and he's got to drive to Jersey because he doesn't deserve a plane ride.
40-hour ride to New Jersey. Wildwood, New Jersey is where he's from. So, yeah, they got some nice beaches out there, dog.
Well, you know what? He can pack up his car full of Four Peaks and take it with him and spend a little bit of extra time out there, just sipping on some Suns brews to maybe help spark some joy in his life. You know, they did launch a brand new beer this year called the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. It's a collab between Four Peaks and Bad Birdie, and it is super drinkable and the perfect companion at the tee box or in your fridge. I know the Suns season is over, but that doesn't mean you can't drink Suns Brew. It's a delightful beer that Four Peaks has. And of course, you can always visit the Four Peaks pub down in Tempe, enjoy the wide variety of beer that they offer and the delightful food that they have as well. You can visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. You can also give them a follow on social at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Now, you do have to be 21 years or older to drink Four Peaks, and we ask that you please drink responsibly. But anybody can enjoy the delightful food that they have down at the pub.
You know what? Before I get into the ad read, I apologize, New Jersey. I heard the Jersey Shore is beautiful. You know what? Frank Vogel gets to go swim in the Hudson. I heard that ain't suitable to swim in. Get your hepatitis shot and whatever else you need and go swim in the Hudson, all right? Not with cement boots, not that kind of swim in the Hudson. Just, you don't get the beach. You get the Hudson River, all right?
That's dangerous, man. The Hudson River, that's dangerous.
Espo, I think you need an OGs right now because we are treading on murky territory here. We're talking about the
Hudson
Hudson
River's
and cement
murky.
boots and all the shenanigans.
I
don't know
said
what's
not
going on.
cement boots. Don't take it that way. I hate it on New Jersey, and I just meant to say, no, Frank just doesn't deserve Cancun. He deserves a worse body of water than Galveston. He deserves to go swimming in the Hudson River as his vacation, and then he can get out and towel off. He doesn't have to stay in the Hudson, all right? That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And now I need some OGs because I'm way too fired up. And you know what? They got two products that I probably should try right now. They're OGs Naturals and the Big OGs. The OGs are for my friends that are vegan out there. They're vegan gummies made with live rosin, available in sweet clementine flavor. And let me tell you, that flavor is spectacular. And then the Big OGs, which I think I might have to go have a whole Big OGs right now. That's where I'm at. It's a mega version of Peg's Raspberry RSO. One of the company's most popular products is perforated into 10 slices, each with 10 milligrams of THC for a total of 100 milligrams of that sweet THC. And to learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head over to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com. Must be 21 or over to enjoy, and please enjoy it responsibly.
All right, guys. A couple more super chats here. Tony sent us one. Thank you, Tony. They said, love you guys with your coverage. You were definitely the one highlight this solar coaster season. Looking forward to next season with you and coverage of the obvious changes this offseason. Go Suns. Thank you, Tony. Glad to have you here. Love y'all. Sent us one, and they said two things. Booker elimination game narrative saved. Also, where's Flex at? Flex was having technical difficulties earlier in the show, but as you can tell, he's back now.
I'm here, man. I ain't ducking nobody, man.
Jacob sent us one, and they said, what, quote, major change is even possible? We're stuck.
No,
we'll get into that.
What?
Guess what we get to fire up on Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yay!
Listen, after a season like this, I'm on board with it. Let's go. We'll do Trade Machine Tuesday on a regular basis, and I'll actually be excited this year. Maybe.
We're not stuck, guys. We're not stuck. Don't fall into that trap. They got options.
Freddie sent us one, and they said, lights too bright for Brad Beal. Looked stunned. Shaking my head. Gonna be a long summer.
Yeah. I mean, tonight he looked. Those lights look so bright that he melted under them.
Yeah. Mike Roman sent us one, but didn't include a comment. But thank you for your super chat nonetheless. Octo Bro sent us one, and they said, bottom line, the better team won the series. This falls on the organization who failed to build a playoff experienced team with a versatile head coach. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm not arguing that.
Benjamin sent us one, and they said Katie had two. Uh-oh. Benjamin's went away. Eric, try and bring Benjamin's back. I missed it. Sorry, Benjamin. Yours is gone, and I don't know how to find it again, but thank you. Be calm, see clearly, said...
Oh, boy.
Do I have to read this one? Is this worth putting up?
I don't know. This one might be over my head.
Well, that worries me in so many ways.
I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to read it.
I'll read it. BCom see clearly as Flex's internet craps out again. It must be run by Bradley Beal. BCom see clearly says, I gave Book the Twirl-O-Matic for this. I don't want to know what the Twirl-O-Matic is, but I'm sure it's not good. Lindsay's got stuff falling. I'm going to be alone by myself soon.
It scared me so bad.
Who's running this thing? Frank Vogel? What the hell is going on around here?
Listen, while we try and get things back together, let's go ahead and toss to a clip. We've got Devin Booker here on the details where the Suns fell apart and the big three, plus coach needing to be better next year.
It's, I don't want to have an X and O conversation with you right now, but, defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding, the most extra possessions you can get, spacing on the floor, you name it, free throw box out. I think the teams that get the most possessions and extra possessions, and I'm thinking back to the finals year, that's what Milwaukee did to us too. They miss a shot and, crash 4 or 5 people and, turn it into, a war in the paint. So, there's a lot of details to the game that go into it. But I've always been saying it all year, communication trumps all. So, and we weren't good with that this year.
So obviously all of this has to be addressed going into next year.
Has to be what?
Addressed going into next year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, hopefully everybody's feeling the same type of hurt. And, it has to be fixed. I have to be better. Kevin has to be better. Brad has to be better. Coach has to be better. If we're the leaders of the team, we can't be out there unprepared.
I mean, he's not wrong. If you're the leaders of the team, you can't be out there unprepared, because this is what happens when you're out there unprepared. And it wasn't fun for any of us.
That's probably the most, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen this guy go through a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on every facet. That's pretty disheartened. He seemed pretty disheartened right there. I mean, that was obviously a guy who felt like he went through the ringer this year and could not figure out how to make it work with these guys at times. And the communication has been what he's talked about all year. And it obviously was what doomed this team, at least in part. And we're about to find out in a lot of ways, I'm sure, how much that was a problem. So,
yeah, it was a big problem. It was a big problem. And like I said, there's going to be a whole off season to get into all these things individually in time and give them their own moment. But I'm telling y'all, there's going to be some massive changes on this basketball team. And we're going to start with the first phase, I believe. Again, it's going to be Frank. But there'll be some massive changes, and there's a proof of concept now. You've seen it doesn't work, and you're going to correct it. You have to correct it. And I do believe they have a path to correct it. So let's get it corrected, and hopefully we can have some more fun, because this was the most frustrating season I've ever been involved in, top to bottom. I know you guys didn't have a great time either. We did it together. We thugged it out. We made the best of it, but it was tough as hell. And those guys are feeling the same way. I could promise you that.
Mm-hmm. Listen, Gerald Bourguet is going to be joining us here shortly from the Footprint Center, and he'll be able to provide even more information and context on all of the players and coach and what they said after today's game or tonight's game. But you got to hit that thumbs up button. You got to hit those like buttons if you want Gerald to join the show. So hit the thumbs up button. Also, we got our super chat from Benjamin. We were able to find it. Benjamin said, KD had 2 points in the fourth quarter of an elimination game, did not take a shot for the last 6 minutes. I feel like the Suns didn't take a single shot for like the last, it felt like a few minutes outside of a free throw. There was like one shot or one missed shot, maybe. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it was an odd game. I'm not blaming Cat for that. Cat played his ass off tonight. We're not gonna do that. It just happened. It just worked out that way. But they had a chance to win this basketball game. However you paint it, I'm gonna keep going back to that 230 spot with Brad Beal. That's the defining moment right there. You got to just make that play, and you can't give up a 6-0 run all by yourself in about 30 seconds. So that's not on KD.
Mike sent us a super chat, and they said, I think we need the big three sat down together in a room and tell them to restructure their contracts or someone is gone. Big ask, but they got to prove winning comes first, and this is how we can get depth. I mean, honestly, I feel like,
not allowed in the NBA, guys.
Nope.
Even if you
the NFL.
could, I feel like they would just be like, okay, bye.
Yeah, this isn't the NFL. You can't do that.
Nope.
Zach Evans sent us one, and they said a 35-year-old KD is better than current Book. Fix everything around 36. Book, take the blinders off. Curry did, and look what happened.
Let's stop that. I'm not even entertaining that. Come on.
Zaire sent us one. Thank you, Zaire. They said these past 2, really 3 NBA seasons have confirmed to me that the NBA super team era is officially dead. Right pieces and team chemistry wins titles. It's beautiful to see, to be honest.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And the new structure of the CBA is gonna put a stamp on that. Super teams are done. This is not how you do it. There's going to be more balance around the league. And that's why I'm saying I think there's a path. The Suns have a path to kind of right some of these wrongs over this summer. But I'm promising you, And remember, I said this immediately after we got eliminated. Okay, we're gonna talk about this more, but I'm gonna tell y'all something. It has to happen this summer. Tough decisions have to be made, and they have to happen this summer. We can get into that later, but I promise you, there is no wiggle room. There's no holding back and being patient and saying, well, what if, or let's try this again. Things have to get done this summer. And if they make the right moves and the right decisions this summer, this is very salvageable. But if they get cute and try to not make the tough decisions, then we might be in a heap of shit. And so you take that however you want.
Peter sent us one. Thank you, Peter. We appreciate you. Said, Nuggets fan here. Loved your show and all the hard work you guys put in all season. I really thought the Nuggets and Suns would be the two best teams in the West. Was looking forward to another great playoff battle. Sigh. Thanks, Peter. We appreciate you.
Good luck next round.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get some revenge for us, we wouldn't be really mad at that, I suppose. My Kafka sent us one as well. Thank you so much. They said 3 weeks ago, I asked, quote, if you could only pick one, Beal or Allen, for the first round, who would you choose? I would like your answer given tonight's outcome. Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Well, we saw what happened without Beal or without Allen. I guess I'd rather see it with him this time if we can try it again.
But I mean, Grayson Allen didn't do a whole lot in the first couple games.
I mean, that's fair too.
Oh.
Nobody did.
Yeah,
nobody did.
This is a tough one. I mean, I definitely wish we would have had a healthy Grayson Allen for the whole series, and we got what, maybe 3 actual quarters or 4 quarters of Grayson Allen. So that's a tough one to swallow. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to look at today and play Monday morning quarterback with that.
All right, guys. Sounds like Sir Gerald Bourguet is here.
In the darkness, beyond the light, there shall only be one. Welcome to
Hi, Gerald.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Here we
Can't
go.
hear.
Of course, we wouldn't be able to hear Gerald on the worst day of the season.
Oh no, our Gerald's broken.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Can't hear you, G.
Say something. See if it works.
I'm saying words.
There
You
we
hear me?
Hey, there he
There we go.
is.
All right, we're good. How's everyone doing?
What up, G?
Peachy, Gerald. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
I don't believe you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'll be fine. I'm worried about everyone in the chat, but I'll be fine.
So, Gerald, first and foremost, tell us what Devin Booker was saying after tonight's game. I mean, he sounded in the soundbite that you sent us. I mean, he got pretty real about it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he kept going back to the details. We tried 3 or 4 different ways to ask him questions about the season and how it unfolded, and he just kept pointing to the details and, you know, saying that he needed to be better, the big 3 needed to be better, Vogel needed to be better. He pointed to the amount of championship experience that they had between Kevin, between Fizdale, between Vogel, and it just never got where it needed to go. So it was kind of interesting to hear him talk, and of course I'll have thoughts on it tomorrow more in depth, but it feels like there's still that disconnect that we've been speaking on this whole series. It feels like everybody wanted to go in the same direction and end up at the same place, but the way that they wanted to get there was different. And I'm sure you guys have probably already talked on the Shams Charania article a little bit with Doug Holler that dropped. But it is interesting that little tidbits like Kevin Durant feeling like he wasn't used properly on offense, but not being adamant enough to speak up on it. And, players kind of rolling their eyes at Vogel's outburst at halftime in the Clippers game when they went down 35-4, just little things like that show that this was not a connected group. And I understood the impulse last year when people, saw what happened in Game 6 against the Nuggets and thought we needed change in terms of the coaching position. But the one thing that I will say about last year's team was they were always on the same page. When they spoke to us, it was always on the same page. And it just hasn't felt like that for weeks now with this group. And I'm not saying that, that's all on Vogel, but it is an interesting dynamic that has changed compared to last year even.
Agreed. Hey, go ahead.
Did anything else stand out? And I mean, we saw the clip from KD talking about his motivation. We heard Book talking about the communication. We heard whatever the hell Frank was trying to say to the fans. I mean, did anything in particular stand out to you as a moment where you went, that's something that people should know? Because I just need to hear something, Gerald. Give me something.
I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or worse, but I think one theme that stood out that I was kind of surprised about was the way that Durant, Booker, and Vogel were all kind of operating under the premise that, they'd be back next year in terms of like, let it sit with guys over the summer, and everybody here needs to work on their game over the summer. And, the big three and Vogel, we need to be better next year and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that means that Vogel's job is safe. I would bet money that they are going to look at another candidate just the way that this season has gone. This is the most disappointing season in Suns franchise history. Like, it's not the worst season. It's not the worst playoff exit that they've ever had. But put it all together, considering the expectations this group had, the level of championship experience, and what was at stake in terms of what they gave up to get this team of three superstars and flesh out the bench, this end result of getting swept in the first round is the most disappointing season. So it wouldn't surprise me if they go in a different direction and look at a head coach, because I don't know that you can just run it back and say, well, hopefully a year older we'll somehow be more healthy than we were this season. With everyone in place, with Vogel still in place. I don't know. I feel like there has to be a fall guy. Could be wrong on that. But it was interesting to hear them talking about continuity and building for next year, and guys getting in the gym more with each other this summer. I think the roster might be relatively similar to what we've seen, especially considering a lot of the guys that have player options for next year. I think they realize that they don't have a ton of flexibility in terms of making big moves. But yeah, I thought that was interesting that, Vogel mentioned a 3 to 5 year window. I think that's being very generous. And I think it was interesting to hear the Suns talking about, building and continuity and running it back and all this other stuff, when I don't know that that's guaranteed for everybody involved here.
Okay, but do you think that was just kind of one of those cliche things that you're supposed to say after this type of a thing?
It could be. It very well could be, but it didn't feel that way. It felt more natural than forced, and we've been able to usually pick apart the forced lines over the last couple of weeks, especially because they've usually been different from each other. But it kind of felt like one of those things that all three of them naturally lean towards, because I think Book was talking about some of the great teams that he's been on and having that continuity and how important that is. Kevin Durant saying something similar as well. I think they understand that, you make too many changes year in and year out, it's really hard to build something. And Vogel, I know a lot of people want him gone and whatnot, but he was right when he did say that, like, we haven't had enough time to build. It's year one of this rebuild with a new coaching staff, with a whole new group of guys, and a lot of them weren't on the floor for most of the year. So as much as KD and a lot of the guys didn't want to use that as an excuse, didn't want to use Grayson Allen being out as an excuse, it is something that held them back, and it could be something that holds them back again next year, depending on how they retool the roster.
Gerald, that did not make me feel better.
I don't know what you want from me. I don't have any magical quotes for you that are going to suddenly wipe the pain away.
No, listen, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Linz.
No, I was just going to say Rome sent us a super chat, and they said, like I said after game 2, when Gerald says, quote, I don't know, there are way bigger issues in that locker room.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm comfortable saying there's a huge disconnect in this locker room. And I think that the first thing you need to do is figure out the Frank Vogel situation. The idea that they're tuning him out and stuff like that is very alarming. I do think that, like Gerald said, they'll kick the tires and they'll make the phone calls and they'll look at potentially other options, and how you build around that is a whole nother thing. But G, my question to you is this. What's up with Brad Beal? And when I say that, did he go to the podium? Did anyone get to speak with him? Did anyone talk about him? Because this was hard to watch, and I felt bad for Brad, but at the same time, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And all season long we were calling him a big three. I can't stress enough. We weren't saying a big 2.5 or a 2+1. It was a big three. And Kevin and Devin took a lot of smoke this year, but today, Brad Beal, I'm sure it's tough. Did anybody speak with him? Any questions? Anything you've heard on your end?
No, he kind of had left before the locker room had opened up and we were able to get a hold of him. He will presumably speak at exit interviews tomorrow, so we'll be able to hear from him then. Then again, I did say that about Devin Booker last year, and that wasn't the case. So hopefully we don't get a situation like that. I think Brad will speak to us because he's the one guy that we didn't get to talk to tonight. And obviously there will be questions about this performance. I asked Vogel about his performance and what went wrong for him tonight. He pointed to a number of things, the foul trouble taking him out of the rhythm, the way the Timberwolves defenders loaded up on him and pressured him full court as kind of the point guard when he was initiating offense. And just the fact that he missed shots that he normally makes. He said all of those things kind of compounded into one very frustrating night. And you could definitely feel it. I know a lot of people were making something of, the half-hearted, handshake that he gave Vogel running to the bench. I didn't see anything to that. I think that was just kind of a frustrating moment for him in regards to his night, in regards to his foul trouble. I don't want people to read into that too much because, after game 2, they were full on, yelling and conversing. And I think that just comes with the territory of being frustrated in a series like this that you are losing with everything kind of piling up. I don't think it's anything personal there, but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to hear from Brad and get his take on what happened because, the one quote that is circulating tonight, unfortunately, is I've never been swept in my life. I'll be damned if that happens. And you've just got to be better in this situation, especially after saying something like that.
Gerald, I'm trying to lean in to the whole don't read into it too much thing, but it was a little sus.
It wasn't sus.
Yeah, I'm being honest, guys. I think that's a whole bunch of nothing. He was running off the court. I don't even think he saw his hand. I think he was just making a motion, and the timing of the pattern in which he was running was kind of off.
I think he just missed his hand.
That's it. He was just running off the court. He's frustrated. He missed his hand, and it looked like there's nothing to that. I don't think there's anything to that.
Okay, fine. If you say so.
Oh,
all
no,
three
no.
of you say so. Fine, whatever.
I got you, Lynn.
I mean, there's plenty of problems with this group. A missed high five, I don't think is one of them. All right, I'll go out on a limb and say that.
I'm not going to say anything. Anything else, Gerald, that kind of stood out to you from this one?
Not really. I mean, I'm glad that they showed fight. I was wondering why they couldn't show it earlier in the series, and I asked Book about that specifically, and he said, I think pride was on the line, but the natural response is going to be, well, why wasn't it there earlier? And I completely agree. So I think they're similarly dumbfounded and frustrated in terms of why it took them to game 4 when they were down 3-0 in a series to play the way that they did tonight, and for Book and KD to go off. They did point to the small ball opening things up. I do wonder if that was a point of contention behind the scenes in terms of we need to go small sooner, more often, play small, spread them out, make them work. Because it's no coincidence that in the game where they did go small for the majority of it, KD had 33, super efficient night. Book had his highest scoring playoff night of his career. I do want to point out that I don't think anyone should feel better about the whole elimination Book thing. Like, does it feel better to you guys that he played well in an elimination game and they got swept? I don't think it should. I think that speaks to how I think it speaks to how elimination games as a concept are very overrated. Like, he played like shit for the first 3 games and had a great elimination game. Do we say that he had a good series? Do we feel better now? No, we shouldn't. So why do we continue to pay attention to elimination so much? But
don't mind me.
That's my little rant there.
I think it's less about the elimination game itself. It's more about the narrative that it creates. And so now when you try and build that narrative, or others try to build that narrative, you got to add in a 49-point performance into it. That's what it really is.
I'm with Gito. I said this to start the show. I never cared about that narrative in the first place. It's such a small sample size, and there's so much other context around things. And so, if I'm going to say I don't care about it in the first place, I'm not going to use this as a, oh my God, look at book. To me, they all have their own separate, entities, and I just hate that argument. So I'm with you, G. I just hate that narrative in the first place. And you're right. I don't think Boog gives a shit. He could have scored 85 tonight. They got swept.
Gerald, there is one other question for you.
Sure.
From our friend Hello, they want to know what's happier, Attack on Titan or the Suns?
Oh shit. The Suns, just because it's not about the never ceasing nature of war on humanity, but the Suns are close this season. It was rough, man. I'm not gonna lie, this was a disappointing season. It really was, considering the expectations we had coming in, considering the firepower of this group, considering their expectations. Eric Gordon told us a couple of times he feels like this team should be averaging 130 points, and this was a good test against the number one defense, and they failed spectacularly in that regard. So in a lot of ways, it's back to the drawing board, but with a very limited amount of space to write on that board. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here, and it's going to be interesting to see how the next 24 to 48 hours go if we get that notification about a coaching change or a front office change, because just like we said last year, if you fire Monty Williams, you really better get it right in terms of who you bring in next. If you fire Frank Vogel, there's not a ton of options out there, so you better have a plan of action before you make that move.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gerald. We appreciate you joining us from the Footprint Center. Everybody be sure to give him a follow on social at Gerald Bourguet. And of course, read all of his content over at gophnx.com. Bye, Gerald.
Bye,
Peace,
guys.
G.
All right, gentlemen, we've got quite a few super chats here as well. So we've got one from Alec. Alec said, curious if anyone thinks we'll get news about what happened in the locker room over the course of the season. Does that stuff stay private or leak? It can be both. It just depends on if somebody wants to create a narrative or get ahead of a narrative, or wants to demand a trade, or if they all want to stick together. It really just depends on the situation, to be completely honest with you. So we'll find out.
I feel like Shams and our friend Doug Holler have already started spilling that tea. I can't wait to read that when we're done. So.
Yeah. James sent us one. Thank you, James. They said, okay, I'm convinced. Okay, hold on. Let me read this one before I read it out loud. Okay, so he says he's convinced Booker pulled some shenanigans behind the scenes. Y'all can read it on the screen if you want, because having Foster in pivotal games just seems ridiculous. Keep Beal, run it back, and go all in on an offensive coach. # Suns fans for life.
Didn't help.
I mean, it didn't. It didn't.
If the fix was in, they did a real shitty job of fixing the game tonight. So.
Juan sent us one, and they said, to all my Suns fans, this year was absolute shit. We just have to admit that and be like Flex and take it on the chin and come back and be better. Love you guys. Thank you, Juan. Appreciate
you, Juan.
Go to Tech Review said, mental health alert, stay off of Reddit NBA for a while.
I don't go
I
on
always
Reddit
do
ever,
that.
so.
Smart.
Yeah.
Can I read one from Priscilla? It's not a super chat, but I think we need to bring it up here. She says, LMAO, I am not proud of introducing Cheeks to this podcast.
You should be, though. You should be. Jose sent us one, and they said, thank you, mad love. Thanks, Jose. I appreciate you being here with us.
Respect, Jose.
Ryan sent us one, and they said, so much more enjoyment on the way now that my rooting team has been eliminated.
Oh, God.
I mean, it is easier to just watch playoff basketball when there's not like your heart's not on the line. You know what I mean? You just get to enjoy it.
I'm the opposite. It just hurts. It's like getting broken up with and then looking at the photos of your ex going on date. Like, no, I'm out of the playoffs. I don't want to. I need a while. All right.
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
I'll be watching, one, because I'm a basketball junkie, but two, because I do believe that there's a couple series going on currently that in some way, shape, or form may come back to be part of the Phoenix Suns explosive offseason that we're about to see come. So I think there's some things that are going to fall where they fall, where the cookie crumbles. But yeah, pay attention to the Knicks Philly series. Pay attention to that Denver Lakers series. Pay attention to that Dallas Clippers series. Because like I said, the Suns aren't the only ones that have problems. And sometimes it's just cool to call. If you have a problem and somebody else has a problem, it's cool to just call each other and try to fix each other's problems.
Let me be clear. I will watch the playoffs. I'm saying I won't enjoy watching the playoffs because I'm no longer in the hunt anymore.
Okay.
All right. Base God Flashy sent us one, and they said Nasir over Bol was diabolical. Bye, Frank. Also, Nurk was played off the floor as expected this series, and his shooting at the rim is laughable. Nurk missing layups is not fun at all. Not fun at all.
No lies detected.
Steven sent us one, but didn't include a comment, but thank you nonetheless, Steven. Appreciate you. Go to Tech Review says, we have some real demons to exercise. Yes, we absolutely do. And we've got way more time to deal with those issues now that we are out of the playoffs. Tim from Phoenix sent us one, and they said, reading the Shams article, it is scary how much a lot in there has been talked about for months. Why does this stuff happen to the Suns? How do we get this curse off the franchise? Your guess is as good as mine, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know.
No clue.
I believe we have to find the 1964.5 silver dollar that was used in the coin flip for Lou Alcindor, melt it down and create it into something other than said coin, which I know is, I believe, a felony to destroy currency, but I'm willing to take the chance if that's what it does.
Espo's willing to catch a charge if it's for the Suns winning a championship. Tony sent us one, and they said, you guys deserve a break at least. Thank you again for your coverage. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you, but we'll be back tomorrow.
Right.
We get a 15-hour break. We're back at 3 tomorrow. We get 15 hours.
Rome sent us one, and they said, love y'all, guys. Man, sucks to go out like this. On to Yankees and Rangers, baby.
Let's go, Romy Rome.
Emily sent us one, but didn't include a comment, but thank you. Sampath also sent us one, but didn't include a comment, but thank you as well. James sent us one, and they said, Suns just need a serviceable, not even a good point guard. Offense looks so disorganized. We will dive into that a lot this offseason, I'm sure. Mile High Middies sent us one, and they said, thanks for the great coverage all season long. Was never a huge fan of Frank Vogel. On to the next season. Trade Machine Tuesday, anyone? We're going to have a lot of Trade Machine Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So. Unfortunately, a lot of them. But, I mean, it'll be fun for at least a time. It'll be fun for a time. Brian sent us one, and they said, seems like there wasn't much difference between Monty last year and Vogel this year.
Oh, big difference. No. Big difference. Listen, I was on record saying I thought it was time for a change when we got rid of Monty last year. But it wasn't so much about, I didn't like Monty or I thought Monty was terrible. I just thought that at some point you run your course with a basketball team. You need a new voice. You need something new to kind of get things rolling. So I thought Monty kind of ran his course. But I'll be damned if you're going to sit here and compare Frank Vogel to Monty Williams. That's disrespectful.
Emily sent us one, and they said, please don't trade KD. Bought a closet full of Suns gear. #1 KD fan, and when he retires, I'm all Suns and Booker. Thanks, Flex, for the optimism. Flying to Puerto Rico on Wednesday.
Let's go. Enjoy Puerto Rico, Emily. Thank you. Can I come? Please.
Can we come?
Can we roll too? I mean, we need a little break.
Can we just do the show from Puerto Rico?
Right?
Puerto Rico.
That I'm down with. Zach sent us one, and they said, there's a formula that works. We've seen it. Get a coach that runs a modern offense. Draft a center, and then shift things around and let him ride.
I mean, he's not wrong. This is more fixable than people think. We just got to really lock in this summer and be honest about what we just saw.
Yeah. Rangers sent us one and they said, thanks, guys. Beal was a no-show. Frank wrapped a Ferrari around a tree. Minnesota outplayed us, but appreciate y'all. Thanks for being here with us, Ranger. We appreciate you.
I think
Omar
that's pretty
sent us one.
accurate.
Yeah. Oh, did I freeze in that awkward spot?
You did.
We love
not a
that
great
for
look.
me. Huh? Love that. Omar, so no, even worse. Flex, Omar sent us one and said, Flex, no way KD or Book get traded, right?
Do I have to answer? No.
No, you don't have to answer that right now.
I'm not
KD?
answering this right now. No, I'm not answering this right now, guys. I've got too much respect for both these guys. We're not getting into trade talk right now.
KT sent us one and said, I'm sorry, but Frank can't coach. The man didn't even play Isaiah Thomas, who I believe could have given Timberwolves a problem. A problem.
I think if we had a time machine and we got Isaiah Thomas from 5 years ago, maybe, but there was a reason Isaiah Thomas didn't get signed until 2 weeks left in the season.
Isaiah wasn't fixing this.
Rome sent us one and said, Espo, why you disrespected me and Flex's home base like that, LOL, when you were throwing shade at Puerto Rico.
No,
No,
when I was throwing
Jersey.
Shade at Jersey.
Oh, that's what I meant. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jersey.
And
My bad.
I backtracked that. And my father's from Jersey, so I got Jersey blood in me, and I can make fun of it if I want to.
I'm
I'm not.
frozen, so you're going to have to read the rest of them.
My wife's from Jersey, too. So
Okay.
I'm going to have to read the rest. So Go-To Tech Review said, who do we root for now? We DNVR fans again? I might hop on that bandwagon just for next season. Or next series, not next season.
I was going to ask you that. I think right now I'm rooting for the Knicks out east, obviously, my hometown, and in the west, probably Denver. I wouldn't mind to see Denver go back to back. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm going to root for some surprises too. I'd like something
Mm-hmm.
out of the ordinary to happen, but Denver's got my full support next series. Leo says, interested in JJ Redick as head coach?
You know, I heard somebody else bring this up, and I think JJ's phenomenal. I think JJ's a unbelievable basketball mind. I'm a little bit wary of that type of guy, first-time head coach with these type of issues. So I'm a little wary there. But, you know, all the great coaches were a first-time head coach at one point, right? So that's interesting.
Look, let's just let Frank get fired first, and then we can start sifting through the bin of coaches.
Hey, you're on the right side now.
It's being on this side. I don't like it.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go.
All right, we're on Jay super chat. PHX soap opera incoming. Will PHNX cover it, please? We are going to be here 5 days a week, every week until the season starts again. So yeah, we'll be covering it for good, bad, or ugly, and probably doing a lot of drafts and other games to keep our sanity in place.
Yes. Mike Kafka sent us another one. Thank you so much for all the super chats today. Said, too bad we didn't have a point guard like Isaiah Thomas on the roster to run point.
No, he wasn't ready for this test.
He wasn't.
He was never a point guard really either. He was a glorified shooting guard in a point guard's body. Now, if we're talking Detroit Isaiah Thomas, sure, yeah, prime Detroit Isaiah Thomas at point guard would have been great and better than a shadow GM.
Well, we do have that Isaiah Thomas. So get him a jersey.
Cesar sent us one and they said, if not Ty Lue, I'd love to see Phil Handy. If Ty Lue isn't available.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah,
another first time head coach, but I think you might actually have to do that because if Ty Lue doesn't become available, are you really going to sift through the bin of has-beens? You know, is Mike Budenholzer really the guy you want to go with? Is there some guy that happened to sit out this year that really tickles your fancy? I mean, maybe Terry Stotts interests you. I don't know, but there's all sorts of names that we've seen before, but I think you might have to get creative in where you're headed.
This is why I think we need to be a little patient. when they come out with the news and like if and when they fire Frank, that's a whole different thing. But I don't think this is something you rush. I think you let things play out. The entire playoffs, you let it play out. You gotta, because there's still going to be some things that we're not seeing coming that are going to come to fruition as things start to clear up.
Agreed.
Okay, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you all for hanging with us. We appreciate you. I think this might be the longest show of the entire season, and it's fitting that it is the show to close out the 23-24 Suns season. Like we've said multiple times, we'll be back tomorrow with another show for you. It'll be at 3 p.m. So plan to come hang out with us. One time, as a reminder, hit that thumbs up button. Give us a like. If you are here with us on YouTube, if you're listening wherever you get your podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And then go read that Shams article because we'll probably talk about it. If not tomorrow, definitely on Tuesday. You can also give the show a follow on social at PHNX_Suns. You can follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Flex at Flex from Jersey. You can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Oh, at least we'll always have that dog pissing at center court and Emma Stone. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.